I'm Patty D'Amedio, a parishioner from St. John the Beloved. Father Dennis asked us to have a conversation with him about married life since we've been married for 48 years.
And I'm her lovely husband, Tom D'Amedio, and here to help out Father Dennis.
We met, I was babysitting for Tom's nephew, and he was going out with someone else and his brother and sister-in-law. And the first thing that caught my attention was that he seemed rather grouchy. But then after that, mutual friends got us together to actually start dating. So for me, it didn't really hit me as a big, thing. I think it evolved over time as we dated and the relationship grew and developed. I think then it started to become clear, and after praying over it too, of course, I think it started to become clear that, I wanted to be together with him for married life.
No, it's pretty much the same. We met it. My first time was at my brother's house. Stopped there. She was babysitting for my brother, and just like she said, I don't think there's any one thing that said, "Oh wow, yeah, this is it." We dated for what, 4 years,
Three or four
years, and gradually you get to the point where this isn't so bad. No, and you fall in love, but it's not a boom. Actually, I think the earlier years are the easiest years. I guess for a lot of people, it's not that way, and they're probably the ones that don't make it 49 years, or 48 years. But I think that the earlier years, or maybe it's because you don't have kids, you don't have as many things to, any obstacles that you have to overcome. But no, I thought that the earlier years were the easier ones.
Yeah, I agree. It's all new and different, of course, and I think, I guess the hardest thing was just getting used to each other's living habits. But as Tom said, I think then after you have children and you're working in the house and all those pressures, they were actually harder than the very beginning when we didn't have all that to worry about. So, but well worth it.
I think you define it as something that you entered into, 48 years ago, and you have your ups and downs, and you have to get through them. Your faith is going to help you get through them. Prayer, when things are not going well, and just trusting God.
Right, and I think too, you develop that bond, then you have a family, and you have a stronger foundation because you're building that all the time. As you raise your family, you get through some hard times, you get through some problems or issues, difficulties, whatever, together, and you keep working, and it's stronger and stronger as you go through the years. It becomes stronger. So. I think, when you, or at least if you have the kind of, like, sometimes disagreements that we had, and of course you don't want to, but it just, a lot of things just, you spout off and you say things and you probably don't really always mean them, but you say them in anger or whatever. And then to forgive, I think when you take a step back and you think through it and realize, I really didn't mean that, I shouldn't have said that, I know I hurt him, and you feel sorry and you really do want to forgive. You want to get past that and you want to take back what you said maybe, or just rethink the whole thing, and realize that both of you are at fault too, that it wasn't just him or something he did. And again, you feel sorry truly and want to forgive and get past it and move on.
I think, the same thing. And like I was telling you before we started, that a lot of these questions kind of had the same answer. This one here, pretty much the same as the previous question. Getting through it is, and forgiving and all that comes down to your faith and God's help and prayer. Like Patty said, you'll say things that actually you don't mean, but you just, all of a sudden you said it, and then you wish you hadn't said it, and then it's like, oh, now I got to go see Father Dennis at confession, but but no, like I said, I think it's probably the same as the previous question, where it comes down to prayer and your faith.
Well, I think God has always been a part of our lives together and our lives before that. I always knew God had a plan for me, for us. And as time goes on, you see that plan evolve. But as far as a moment, there were probably a lot of times when you are trying to work through something and you're annoyed or you're angry or you just don't know which way to go with something. And as you're going through it, you're praying and you're thinking about it, praying to the Holy Spirit to guide you, and it eventually resolves. And then you realize God was there the whole time, and the Holy Spirit was bringing you to this point where it all worked out in the end. And
oh, definitely. Without that, I mean, you could, anytime there's a little a bump in the road, then without that faith, you would just, maybe I'll try something else. No, the only thing I probably would do differently is probably would have had the kids at an earlier age than we did. But there's two ways to look at that. One, you have them at earlier age, and then you obviously have your grandchildren at an earlier age, which I think is you're not as old. You're able to do more things with them, and that's a good thing. But on the other side, if you have them at a later age, you're more established. Your lives are more settled, and even financially, I guess you can do more for them if you have them a little bit later in life instead of right away, when you're still struggling to get settled as a family.
As far as the greatest joy, I think just having them in our lives, I mean, that was the greatest blessing. We always enjoyed our children, and, just raising them in each different phase of their lives, and their friends, their activities, their accomplishments. It was just a great experience, and they usually were good kids. Probably we didn't know everything that they were doing, but now they're, to see them now become good fathers and raising their children, and the joy too of having grandchildren, that's another great joy. So those are the things that brought the greatest joy. As far as doing things differently, I would try to be more patient and not stress so much over little things like picking things up, putting things away, um, just overlooking some little things that I probably overreacted to through the years. And that's, as far as major things, I know Tom and I, when we talked about this, he did say that he felt like we pretty much, I mean, far from perfect. I don't mean we were perfect, but he felt like the decisions we made through the years, we probably wouldn't really change with the Holy Spirit's help and God's help. You pray over things, and he felt like we pretty much made the decisions that we should have over the years. Again, not saying we were perfect. Probably through the years there were things that, we wish we had done differently, little things. But for the big things, I think we feel like we probably were on the same page and did, would do it the same way.
Wow, I like that. So how many children do you guys have, and where are they all in Delaware?
Yeah, 2 sons
Two
in
sons.
Delaware, 2 daughters-in-law, and 5 grandchildren. And that really, again, that brings us to me, the greatest joy. So. I think it's grown again because it's grown deeper, because you've shared so much more, both good and bad things. So you're building that bond. I said that earlier, but you are building on that on that foundation, and the relationship is growing stronger as you weather some things and maybe realize something wasn't as important as you thought, or you got through a hard time, and then you're grateful for the support that you had from the other person. And that support was always there, and it makes your love stronger because you're so thankful for so many blessings and things like that, the support, the generosity, the kindness, the being there when you needed that person. And you're very grateful. And again, all the blessings of life, our children, our grandchildren, all of that. So that's changed. Not to say we don't annoy each other, because we do, but just the love itself, to me, has grown deeper because we have such a bond that we've shared now, the history, the family, our faith, and growing stronger in our faith and deeper in our faith and sharing that together. We have so much to share that I think it's a different love. It's love, but it's a deeper love. It brings in so much more, all the history and the years we've had together.
There's not a whole lot to add to that. She always gets to go first, so.
Well, you can go.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, and the
But no,
surprise,
I
too.
agree
What
with
surprises
pretty much
you?
everything she said. Otherwise, you don't get to be 48 years if it doesn't grow. If it stops growing, then you got a problem. And once again, just going back, like I said earlier, that a lot of these questions can be answered with the same thing, that it comes down to faith and prayer, asking God to get you through it.
I think that it surprised me to see him become such a great father and now grandfather, and also seeing his spiritual side more and more as we grew and, spent years together. And another important thing is, thinking back, he was right a lot more times than I thought at the time. That was another surprise to me, but I always thought he was wrong. Not always, many times thought he was wrong, but looking back, he was probably right many more times than I gave him credit for.
Not a secret. It's just you took a vow, and you got to stick with that. There's going to be, love is marriage. It's not easy. You're gonna, like Patty said earlier, you're gonna have your disagreements and a lot of bumps in the road, and you've got to go through that. You can't just give up on it. You've got to keep pushing, and once again, like I hate to just keep saying it, but once again, with your your faith and prayer and God's help, you try your best to get through it and keep moving forward. Instead of saying, this isn't for me, and running off. You just gotta keep going.
Yeah, I think the commitment that you made, and you honor that, and endurance, prayer, faith, and again, the love that you have. It's not easy all the time, but it's very fulfilling and rewarding. Get through the hard times, yes, but it's not easy, as Tom said, all the time, but it's always fulfilling and rewarding.
Well, as far as what advice I would give to young couples, that I just mentioned that in the previous question, that you can't just give up when things get rough. You have to keep pushing forward. Like I said, prayer, hope, God's help. That you get forward, you get through it, and move forward. As far as what I'm grateful for to God, celebrating this milestone, is I think the fact that He did bring us two together. I don't know if anybody else would have, if I'd have made it this far with someone else. I thank God that when He was picking out people, He said, I'm going to put him with her. And I got lucky there.
That's nice. That's nice to hear. I think we're, wait, what was it? Question, I'm sorry. Oh, the secret. So I think, again, prayer, faith, make God a priority in your life and your children's lives, and try to teach that and try to live that faith. And I think a big part of it is overlooking a lot of small things that seem so important at the time, but are not really in the big picture. Just trying to overlook those things and remember the love you have for each other, and get through it and move forward, and get over it and move forward. And then what you're most grateful for. I think I would agree with Tom that the years we've had together and bringing us together, God bringing us together, and then the family that we have, and the family we raised, and all the blessings we've had throughout our 48 years. Grateful to God for all of that.